Now, sometimes when you actually have a run of distilling and you only have a small amount of alcohol to filter, it's a little bit nonsensical trying to put it through one of these large filter systems. In this case here, about 2.5 litres of end product of 40% alcohol by volume, and I want to carbon filter it. Well, I could put it through here. I could pay for the cartridge to go in there, and I could use it, but I'm not going to be using it to its fullest potential. Of course, once I've used it, I probably wouldn't be able to use the cartridge again after it dries out. So what do? Well, you come up with an alternative. You make a different type of filter, and I'm going to show you how to make it with a 2-litre soft drink bottle and a 600 ml water bottle, and it's relatively simple. I'm going to show you exactly how. Well, these are the only tools that you're going to need, and the implements that you need to do this: a pair of side cutters, a pair of pliers, a sharp knife, a Sharpie pen, a wire coat hanger of a reasonably small dimension wire, power drill, a couple of drills, larger size and smaller. You'll see which ones I use later on, and you can probably change this to suit yourself later on. And for the end product, obviously, we're going to be using some coffee filter papers and some carbon. Now, let's get together and just get this thing started, shall we? Start off with your soft drink bottle and mark an area where you're going to cut. And in this case, I'm just doing it around the ridge of the bottom. So we've got the largest size of the bottom still able to be used. Now, get your knife. Be very careful with this, as I say, as I slowly cut my hand off. Just cut carefully along that line, because you want it to be reasonably straight. It doesn't need to be perfect, but more to the point, it's you want it to be at the beginning of that downward trend of the bottle. So along here is going to be fine. All right, now that we've got that, bit of water inside, that's from rinsing it, that's fine, we'll use that later. Your 600 ml bottle. Now, you're going to use this as a diffuser, and what I mean by that is when you're pouring your liquid into this container to filter, you don't want your carbon be fluffing up all over the place. You want it to be basically still. So we're going to use this as a diffuser. So in this case, I've got segments along this bottle. I'm going to use this third segment up, and I'm just going to cut along this segment here. Done. Now that I've got that, oh, there is one other thing that we need, a pair of scissors. I can get that out right now. We might as well finish the preparation of this while we have it in our hands. Using a pair of scissors, cut 2/3 of the way down. And what you want to do is you want to cut multiple pieces around about 1.5, 2 centimetres. All the way around. Now that that's done, we can actually give it a bend, like so. That's what we're doing. See, giving a little bend, make it stick out a little bit. See that? That's going to fit inside the bottle and stop it from washing up with the swirl. Now that that's done, we're going to put some drainage holes in the bottom with a larger drill. That is now done. So put that aside until later. Now to continue working on this one, obviously we want it upside down because we want to filter through this. Actually, what I'll do now, I'll do the next step, which is drill a hole in the bottom of the lid. Now, you don't want it to be a large hole, but at the same token, you can make it a reasonable hole because you can adjust this, as I'll show you later on. all we're going to do, right through the centre, we're going to drill a hole. Lucky I have a stone bench top, isn't it? It's fine. Nice clear hole there. So that's done. Won't need those again. Won't need the knife or the scissors. Sharpie. So we've got basically our ingredients for it to actually happen now. Now what we want to do is we want to make a bracket out of the coat hanger so that it is able to hang on to the bottle that we put it on, or the container that we put it on. Now, if you put the lid on the coat hanger, you'll see you've got a little bit of slack and probably about the width of one piece of wire where you can actually tighten it up to. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make a bracket out of a piece of coat hanger. Use some sharper side cutters, that'll be fine, that's better. Now all I'm going to do here is straighten it out a bit so I've got something easy to work with. Get the lid of my bottle and start to run it around the lid. Nice and tight. Now, you're not going to be able to get it completely tight, but it'll be in that little groove, so you're going to be able to give it reasonable tension. So you put it around like so. Now, when it's like so, it's able to fit on and it's able to actually sit nice and smoothly down the bottom. Of course, what happens when you put the lid on, that supports it like that. Now you need to get the container that you're going to use. I'll just go out of screen and get that. Now this is a container that I'm going to use for this example. So what we're going to do is we want it to sit recessed in there, so we're going to give this a little bit of a downward mark like that. Maybe a bit more. This time what we're going to do is we're going to give it some downward by bending it out a little bit from the wire itself. You can see what I've done here. So it's got some downward mark here. And now we want it to sit about there, so I'm going to make a mark here, and that's where I'm going to bend it up. And I'll do the same on the other. I'll cut this shorter so we've got space. I'll do the same on the other side. When I want it to be straight, I'll get the mark with my thumb and simply bend it down. And we'll cut off the excess there as well. Now, bend that into place a little bit. So now, we just simply adjust the bend a little bit. On this one too. It should, adjust that clamp on the side, it should fit nicely. Now don't worry about it rocking around, it's got to lean to one direction or the other. In this case, what we're going to do, obviously, when you're going to use it, you're going to load it, but you're going to put the liquid in and put it against the corner of a room, corner of a wall, or on the table. So it's leaning against that table. Very, very simple. Okay, so now we've got that done. So now we're going to get to the stage where we're putting the carbon in and setting it up for a run. Now I need to be able to control the flow. So I do this with coffee papers, and I just simply get the binding, the corner pieces, cut them into strips, and one whole coffee filter. What I'll do is I'll cut segments off in strips again, it's easier to handle. So I've got separate pieces of coffee paper. Now to control the flow, all I do is I pack that paper into this nozzle. And I crunch it all up first. Some of this water's on the table, so it's a bit sticky, but it doesn't matter because we're going to get it wet again in a second anyway. And I'm going to show you how we do this in a second. So grab an implement. be able to pack this down. So I'm going to hold my finger on the bottom of this and put some water in. I'll be back. All right, so I've got some water in there. It's wet. I'm simply going to pack that down a little bit now. Now that I've got it packed down a little bit, only lightly, because I haven't made the fine adjustments yet, put some more water in. Because now what we want to do is we want to see how fast that flow is. It's reasonably fast at the moment, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to pack that filter paper down a little bit more. Still reasonably fast, I'm going to pack it down some more. Ideally you want it to be dripping. That's a little bit faster, but it's still a bit fast, but it's a little bit slower than what it was before. So still keep on packing it down. And again, I'll do it a little bit more. See how it's slowed down to next to a slow drip? I'll put that down a little bit more. Try it again. That's good, I like that. So I'm going to pour that water carefully out of this bottle by holding the paper in place. Now that I've got that in place, I'm going to load this with carbon. Now, activated carbon, you can Google this if you want, but activated carbon tends to absorb the impurities into the carbon itself. And that being the case, it's a very effective system. Now, we're going to simply put a piece of this paper down. If you can see there, I've simply got that paper sitting flat against the bottom. Now I'm going to put in my little stabilizer. Now that stabilizer, if you can see there, that stabilizer is holding that paper and the carbon in place beautifully. Now, if you've rinsed your carbon, and you may have a little bit of surplus water in there. So what you have to do there, I'll go out of screen for a second. Now, if you have rinsed your carbon and you do have some water in that carbon, you'll want to actually wait until that water is completely out of the way. So get a little bit of your distillate. Put it in. Now that is going to basically go along, as you can see here, it's slowly coming out. Now the way you determine when it's working properly with a taste test. Get the taste test with a spoon. Straightforward water. So all you do now is you wait until this dripping has continued to the point where it is alcohol that's coming out. You then discard the base here and you put it in the corner and you set it up ready for filtration. There you go. It's set up now. It's got about 1.5 to 1 3/4 litres of distillate in there, and it's dripping slowly into the container. Now it's up to you as an individual how many times you do this. I personally like to make my vodka distillate to be completely odourless, so I might put it through 2, 3, 4, 5 times sometimes. But it's relatively simple, quick and easy, and something you could do while you're making a meal. And yes, so that's probably the simplest and easiest way to make an effective and economical carbon filter for the distillation of your ethyl alcohol.